Hello, and welcome to Church at Home and Home. This is Father Ed Estock.
And Father Michael Petkosik.
And you see we are missing our typical companion, Father Joshua. He's on vacation this week. And we are here contemplating the 14th Sunday in Ordinary Time. And as you will no doubt come to find out, if you haven't already, the Gospel text is a continuation of the story of last week's raising of the synagogue official's daughter and the healing of the woman with the issue of blood. And once again, in our conversations, Father Michael has come up with a take on this. So,
well, thank you. I noticed that this time Jesus returns home to a synagogue that he's familiar with, and the gospel is very clear that he's not able to work many mighty deeds. He's able to cure a few people, but he can't do much. Can't do what he normally does. And it says because of the lack of faith of the people around him, who disbelieve that this son of the carpenter that they know so well could possibly be a miracle worker, or a mighty prophet. And that just brought to mind a saying whose origin I don't know, but I'm familiar with, that God made us without us, but he can't save us without us. And that rang true as we saw Jesus unable to do many mighty deeds because of the lack of faith, because of the cooperation of the people.
Right. And of course, as Father Michael also pointed out, the last Sunday's gospel, in both instances, the synagogue official was told, "Do not be afraid, just have faith." And of course, the woman with the issue of blood was commended by Jesus as having been saved by her faith, not by his power exclusively, but by the cooperation of faith. And so that was the jump and the move that we made. And so I was reflecting with Father Michael on how familiarity, and as the first reading from the prophet Ezekiel, so it's the call of Ezekiel, and in that call, God invites the prophet to go and to speak to a rebel people, and he describes them as hard-faced. And so we started thinking about, so this resistance to and lack of faith in Nazareth, Jesus' hometown, the familiarity, made us think about, we know what hard-faced people look like. And so I was reflecting on being a preacher, as the prophet Ezekiel might be understood to be, that people's faces can be discouraging, at least, to a preacher. So that this notion of being hard-faced does, at least to me, gives me an indication of how my message is being received, if you will. And so we talked about that for a while, and so I don't know if you...
We did. We noted that, especially for yourself, speaking about yourself as an extemporaneous preacher,
that's right.
You can really be guided by the reactions of the people sometimes. Right. You can tell if someone's interested, if they're leaning into your message, or if they're kind of glazed over and they've heard what you have to say and they're done. They're bored with it. Yeah. And I recognize that. Right. You can really, really
so,
tell.
We're using, in this case then, and the prophet and the biblical author is using this notion of hard-faced as being connected to the heart, so that maybe this manifestation on our faces is an indication of the openness or the closed nature of our hearts to the work of God. And of course, Jesus, I'm presuming, he not only experienced or was aware of their lack of faith, I'm presuming he got that impression from maybe their faces. And certainly in their speech, like, well, who is this? Who does this guy think he is? You know, we know him, etc. I was talking about the face masks also. So during the pandemic, this was really true because at first I was being forced, and all the priests were, to speak and celebrate Mass. Can you imagine? In front of a camera only. We were the only, we were the only human beings in the room. And I remembered, and I was sharing with Michael that that experience was something my brain, I think, especially because I'm so reliant upon the facial expressions of people that I'm talking to. I had to begin to be convinced that you guys were out there in the camera. And so as the months went by, and the more and more I did it, I really, in my mind, I would look at the, like I'm right now, I really am, in my mind's eye, I see you. You know, remember Miss Barbara in Romper Room? She'd look into the television and she would call our names and like, oh my gosh, she can see me. I remember as a kid moving close to the television so she could see me better, you know, because I didn't want her to miss me. And then of course she wouldn't say Edward, and she didn't see me. So that was an experience for me. And then of course, when we started getting present but covering our faces, all I had was these eyeballs. And you know, I don't know, I think we were mentioning what those eyes looking at us can.
It's very tough to relate to another human being with just their eyes.
Right.
You miss a lot of emotion, a lot of communication that's done with the face. You miss when the face is covered.
Right. You know, there is that expression. So I looked him right in the eye, and as if to say, okay, I'm really looking into your soul. But my experience now has told me,
yeah,
it's pretty hard. We used to say in the old days, there's 119 muscles in the human face, and we use all of them in our communication with each other. So we read each other's faces, not only our eyes. And so, so I guess the question is, how open are our faces to God's will, I guess, in our lives, and the Word of God?
Right. I think that's the practical implication of this week's gospel and the readings, that our faces, our hearts have to be open to God's will and working in our lives through the exercise of faith. Right? Just have faith, right?
So we cannot save ourselves, but God can't save us without ourselves. So it's kind of a, you know, the ingenious, you know, where they talk about creative intelligence, you know, the great genius of our Creator, that we were created in the divine image, so much so that God has even limited His ability to work in the world by our willing and capacity, our capacity to cooperate.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing. So, and it's a marvel. So, great. Well, we will look forward to seeing you in church, and if not, online on the 14th Sunday. Please remember that we are live streaming the 4 p.m. and the 7:30 p.m. Mass only, 7:30 a.m. Mass only on Saturday and Sundays. And of course, every day at 7:15 a.m. So please share this good news with your friends and neighbors, and welcome them to join in the life and the faith of great people of St. Albert the Great. We'll see you.